once again present SCOIR to Orange County Public Schools and your families. My name is Megan Hoyer. I am a Regional Account Executive here at SCOIR. As far as what we will be covering tonight, so I do want to give a reintroduction to the SCOIR network, really speak to our mission and why we do what we do here at SCOIR and the true impact we're really trying to have on students' lives. We'll then be giving a high-level overview of the SCOIR student experience and all the tools that your students at the high school level can use as they progress through their high school career. We'll then take some time to go into the SCOIR parent guardian experience and also leave some time for questions and answers. As for some housekeeping items, so as we go through tonight, please go ahead and chat in any questions in the chat section as we go along. If you'd like to learn more about any of the features or see them in more depth, I will be doing about a 30-minute presentation, and then we'll leave about 10 minutes for open Q&A. So we'll do our best to address all of those questions that come through the chat throughout. Now, before we dive in, again, want to touch on SCOIR's mission as it really sets the stage for why we do what we do here at SCOIR and the true impact that we are seeking to have on your students' lives. At SCOIR, we have set out to create a network of everyone involved in the college search, discovery, and application process in order to simplify and bring more transparency and collaboration into this process. And our overarching mission at SCOIR is really to help expand college access for all students and improve those collegiate outcomes, meaning better fit, higher retention rates, and better post-secondary success. So what you'll see today or this evening is how SCOIR is really connecting your prospective students with the resources and also the people that support everything from college search and discovery, personal connection, and then ultimately application success. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. So I am going to begin within the SCOIR student experience. So I am logged in as a senior student at Hoyer High School. My student's name is Linda, and she's about halfway through her senior year. So here, when Linda logs on, she can easily see things like application deadlines and reminders. We also have a full functioning mobile app for your students where everything that can be done on the web in SCOIR can be done right at their mobile phone. So this really helps with, again, that college access piece, along with student engagement, helping getting students excited about the process and really meeting students where they're at. So I think a lot of what you'll see this evening on the student experience, it is very social media-esque and really meant to engage and be an exciting tool for your students to use. So things like application deadline reminders or college visits, which can be scheduled through SCOIR by your high schools. All of those reminders will pop up right on the mobile phone for your students in the form of a push notification. Of course, one big piece of SCOIR is that college search and discovery piece. So heading over to my students' Discover page here. We do give the students a few ways to really begin searching about college. So if there is one that they would like to learn more about or is already on their radar, they can go ahead and search for any 2- or 4-year university in the US, as well as several international colleges. But one of the main ways that students can begin that college search on SCOIR is through our preference-based search here. So this My Matches actually utilizes a personal preference profile that students develop within SCOIR to suggest colleges that will match directly with their interests. And this is really geared towards helping students find their fit. So here, your students can begin adding preferences, everything from academic focus, whether it is a general or very specific major. All of these can be searched for on SCOIR and incorporated into that search. Undergraduate degree, so whether you are looking for a 2 or 4 year university. Personal interests and activities. So as you can see here, my student is interested in science as an academic focus. She's looking for a 4-year degree, and she's really interested in study abroad, filmmaking, and choreography. What you'll see here, though, is we do have just about every personal interest, activity, club tagged across these college campuses that are tied into that normal search criteria that students are really used to seeing and want to see. Again, all designed to help students find their best fit. Students can also search by distance and location, whether it is entering a starting home address and determining how close or how far they'd like to go from home, or entering specific states if they know they'd like to stay in state or within the surrounding region. They can also add preferences based on test scores and acceptance rates, campus setting, school type, whether that's a religious affiliation, HBCU, size of the school, athletics, as well as ROTC programs. So the more preferences that students are adding, the more narrow the My Matches will be. But really great for your students to begin adding preferences at any stage of their high school career, as these can always be edited along the way as well. So now let's take a look at one of the college detail pages. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the University of Miami. Now this is one of our more dynamic pages on SCOIR. Here you can see that we do have an integration with UVisit, where you as families, students can take virtual tours of over 900 campuses directly on SCOIR. We'll also share information about college sessions that are available that students can sign up for. For example, experiencing the campus virtually, maybe speaking with an alumni, webinar events, etc. Here's the college overview pages that will be the same for students, families, and even counselors. With this, I really have all of the relevant information I need to know about this college organized in a really easy, digestible way. And these pages are really meant to help students address 3 main questions. Can I get in? Will I fit in? And can I afford it? Scrolling down here, we'll also have more dynamic content on some of these pages, for example, linking out to relevant YouTube videos. And you can picture your students scrolling through this on their mobile phone. Admissions information, helping students address that first question. So can I get in? Where we'll have the average SAT, ACT scores, acceptance rates, along with lay out all of the application requirements, deadlines, even down to the application fees and types of applications that are accepted. As mentioned at the start of this presentation, SCOIR is really designed to help students find their best fit and really be discovered or discover colleges based on criteria that they're entering into SCOIR. So for example, it's a very personalized search experience for your student. My student Linda, for example, has indicated in her profile, which we'll look at momentarily, that she is a first-generation student. That way, when she's exploring these more dynamic SCOIR pages, she's actually going to be able to pull up first-generation support services from the University of Miami. Student life. So this is meant to help students address that second question is, will I fit in? Here, students can learn about diversity information, retention rates, geographic diversity, undergraduate information. Again, with a tailored and personalized experience on SCOIR, Since my student Linda had indicated in her preferences that she was interested in study abroad, the study abroad program for the University of Miami is going to be pulled to the forefront for the student. So it's really tailored to what their actual preferences are. Academics will also list out the popular majors at each college along with the fields of study that are offered. Again, since my student indicated science as an academic focus, these science programs are going to be pulled to the forefront for the student when they're exploring this college. And then helping students address that last question. So can I afford it? And we'll get much more into this financial aid piece on the parent guardian platform when we hop over there. But here students can get a sense of in-state, out-of-state, average net price by income, according to the 5 brackets of the Department of Ed. They can also see the percentage of students that receive federal loans, average student debt upon graduation, financial aid information, and so forth. We'll also outline local transportation and location information for these colleges if students need to figure out where the nearest airport is or public transportation for accessibility. And all of this information on these overview pages is updated at least on an annual basis. We also have a college wall feature where students can really dive into all of the programs. This is again designed to be very social media-esque for students. Here I can look at all of the clubs at the University of Miami or programs, but also clicking into this tag such as study abroad. I can also explore other colleges that have study abroad programs that I might never have heard of before, but could wind up being a really good fit for me, or I could go off and explore. So all designed to really help your students encourage that exploration and discovery. We also have what we call a college compare tool. So this is where students, as well as you as parents, guardians, can compare up to 4 colleges in a nice side-by-side view. So with this, I can take all of the information on those overview pages and get a side-by-side view, saving me time from having to go website to website to compare that information. And as students are exploring these, they can go ahead and add them to their My Colleges list. So we will come back to the My Colleges list, but for now I'm going to hop over into the student's profile. Please just bear with me one second here. I do see some things coming through the chat. So if anyone is having trouble with sound, I will do my best to speak up a little bit. But hopefully everyone is able to see my screen. So I'm going to resume sharing here. Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to pop back over into the student experience. And I'm now headed over into the student's profile. And I'm looking at this from the student perspective. So this is what your students will see in terms of their profile on SCOIR. Again, all of this is also accessible from the mobile app. Here I can see my personal details. This is also where your students will be able to invite their parents, guardians to SCOIR simply by clicking this invite, typing in the first and last name, along with the correct email address. And they can go ahead and send that invitation to you off. Here, I will also be able to see, keep track of my academic overview, such as GPA, test scores that I've sat for. As a student, I can also enter a personal bio or statement about myself, as well as build up my list of activities and achievements as they go through their high school career. So another reason why it's great for all students in grades 9 through 12 to really have one place where they can be logging this information, writing descriptions about maybe their community service or their clubs that they're involved in. Now, what's nice about this piece is we actually allow students to export their profile into a resume template. So this turns the profile into a nice little Word document that they could, jazz up however they'd like. And they can also store this within their My Drive, within their SCOIR profile. So this is really great if your students want to save their college essays here, or maybe like a highlight tape. This is also where counselors can share resources with students and families, such as local lists of scholarships, etc. Also within the SCOIR profile, students will be able to edit their college preferences at any time. So preferences is really important for students, again, to add this information so we can ensure that they're really getting a very tailored and personalized search experience on SCOIR. In terms of career profile, SCOIR has also partnered with U-Science. So U-Science is a career and aptitude-based assessment turned into game playing for your students. Really wonderful for them to take at any point if they haven't done any kind of career exploration or aptitude-based assessments. And once completed, students will be met with really positive results about themselves, their unique talents and inherent strengths. And it's also a really wonderful career exploration tool that is, again, fully integrated with SCOIR. So here, after my student took her results, or took her assessment, she is able to filter by educational investment. So maybe she's not looking to pursue a four-year education. Students can also sort by fit type, whether it's a good overall fit, aptitude fit, or they're just looking for an interest fit at this point. And they can really explore a ton of information about these various careers. So everything from projected openings, estimated salary ranges. They can read about a day in the life of different careers and core tasks. They'll also be able to see how this career actually aligns with their aptitudes, as well as matches with their interests, explore related careers, and really dive into that educational investment piece, reading about on-the-job training or commonly held licenses and degrees, as well as best fit majors. Students can go through and save these careers as they're exploring, and these will be tied back directly into their SCOIR profile. And as a parent guardian on SCOIR, you also will have insights into your student's profile, along with their saved careers, which we'll take a look at. But this U-Science and SCOIR partnership is really meant to create a full journey for your students, where at a younger age, they're learning about their inherent strengths, their aptitudes, exploring some careers that may be of interest to them, and then using SCOIR to really incorporate those best fit majors directly back into that college search and discover. I'm now going to head over into the My Colleges page. So this is where students can begin building up a list of colleges that they are following, meaning they're interested in these schools. This is also where they will see suggestions from either their counselor or their parent guardian, which we'll take a look at shortly. This is also where it'll be very important for students to closely manage this list to really let their school counselors know where they are planning to apply and where they've actually gone ahead and submitted that application. And ultimately, they can mark where they've enrolled. And this is meant to very intuitively follow a student's thought process and is really meant to help students feel empowered throughout this whole process. So as a student, I can make adjustments to this list at any time, adding schools to my applying or applied state. Once a school is in the applying or applied state, we also populate what's called a My College checklist for your students. This is where students can keep track of various application tasks. And you, as the parents and guardians, will also have insight into how they're progressing along with their various applications, as will their counselor. Just a nice starting place for students. And this is also where students will be able to see what documents were sent by their high school and when. So everything that they need to really keep on top of those applications after they are sent off will really be managed within the SCOIR platform. I am now going to go ahead and head over into the parent guardian experience. Okay, great. So we're going to spend the next 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so really going through a deeper dive of the parent guardian platform. I also want to mention that we have a mobile app for parents, guardians as well. That's really valuable, can help keep lines of communication open between your schools. You can also receive messages from colleges, which we'll get to shortly, as well as do that college exploration. So I am logged in as Linda Atkins' parent. If you happen to have multiple students within the district or at a high school, you will be able to toggle between your students. So clicking into Linda here, I have a similar view of her profile information as a family member. So here I can see the personal details, that academic overview information, along with that resume information that my student is adding along as they go through their high school career. I can also see my students' college preferences, so I can better make suggestions to them through the platform and know what they are or are not looking for in a college. I'll also have insights into the career profile and use Science to Save Careers. So again, I have a real clear picture of my students' intended pathway to better help guide them along and make suggestions. Within the college preferences, I can also click here to see students' matches. So what this does is present a view of all of those My Matches that were presented to your student. With this, I can also go off and do a similar college comparison where I can, again, see those college details in a nice side-by-side view, saving me time from having to go website to website to compare different information on diversity or retention rates, cost, even popular majors, and so forth. Also, as a parent guardian within this view here, you can see that I'm looking at this student, but I could also toggle to my other child here and look at their preferences. I can also, as a parent guardian, do my own what we call advanced search, where maybe I believe that I know really what my student would be looking for in a school. So I can go through and start adding those same criteria that I would like to incorporate into a college search. So all of those same categories we saw before in terms of academic focus or distance, location, size, even application info, such as test optional schools or ROTC programs. Of course, I can also go off and simply search for a school as well, which we'll take a look at in a moment. But there's a couple different ways within the family platform where you can go off and suggest schools to your students. And this is going to be a really important piece to, again, help guide them along in this, what can be quite an overwhelming process for a lot of students. So here I can suggest colleges this way. I can also go off and just type in any college, again, I want to begin exploring. So you'll see here as a family, I can go off and take the virtual campus tour, check out college sessions, and I'm going to have that same information that was presented to my student presented to me. I can also go off on these college pages and suggest this way to my student. I'll also have access to the college wall. So here is where I can see those same clubs and programs that U of M offers, explore them, but I can also go off and suggest these to my student as well. And again, information on college sessions, which you'll also have access to and can sign up for. Another piece of SCOIR and that personalization is the ability for colleges to reach out to students and families that have indicated interest in their college on SCOIR. So with this, I am still in the family platform here, but I'm going to first pull up my student again. And within her profile, I also have access on the left-hand side to her My Colleges list. So I'm actually able to see that same My Colleges list that the student, as well as the high school and the counselors are able to keep track of. Now, here's another area where I can go off and simply suggest a college to my student simply by typing in that college name. I can also see schools that my student is following, where their applications are in progress, and ultimately where they've applied. Clicking into one of these, I will be able to see insights into the student's My College checklist, so I can keep track of how my child is really progressing along with their various applications. But back on this My Colleges checklist, if a college appears on your student's My Colleges list, they can actually message with your students as well as with you as a registered parent guardian based on things like interest, academic focus, but also the stage of the application process. So whether your student is just following this college for now or already decided to apply, they can receive really personalized, tailored messages from these colleges. Now, this college outreach messaging is just creating more ways for your students to really meaningfully connect with colleges that they've explicitly shown interest in on SCOIR. We currently have over 100 colleges that are sending over just under 1 million messages to students to date, with an average open rate of about 50%. So what this data is telling us is this level of personalization is leading to these high read rates at some of these segments and even 70% or higher. So what we're finding at SCOIR is that email is not the most effective way of communication at this point. So instead, SCOIR is allowing these colleges to send relevant and direct outreach messages, but only if your students have explicitly shown interest in this school on SCOIR, and i.e. is on their My Colleges list. So to show you an example of one of these outreach messages, since my student Linda began following the University of Miami, I received this message from the University of Miami about joining us at our financial aid session. Now I can click the call to action. This would take me outside of SCOIR where I can sign up for this session. And your students would receive similar messages about thanks for following our college. Here's where you can sign up to learn more. Now, one thing to point out is that these messages are based on high-level segments, but these segments are never tied back to your individual students or your contact information as a parent guardian. So student privacy is and will continue to be of the utmost importance to us at SCOIR, and we will never be providing colleges with student names, emails, or profile data. We really just want students to be empowered and take full control over their college exploration process. So this way, we're simply enabling this connection and outreach to take place, but your students will always maintain control over their personally identifiable information. All right, so we are about at 6:30 on the dot. I do want to make sure to leave the last 10 minutes or so for questions. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I'll go ahead and pull up the chats here. All right, so I did see some questions coming through, so I will do my best to get to as many of these as I can. A great question is, when should a student start working on SCORE? So SCORE is available across the high schools at the high school level. So there is plenty for students to do at each grade level, whether it is just, keeping track of that resume and recording those activities and achievements as they go through their ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and so forth, using that resume building tool, taking the U-Science career assessments, as well as starting to, even follow colleges. Again, we've seen students as early as freshmen following colleges on SCORE so they can get, those outreach messages, learn more about them, get information on college sessions, and so forth. So your students should have access to SCORE. If this is your first time hearing about it, I would just encourage you to ask your student if they've registered for their SCORE account. They may need to go back to their counselor to ask them to, reinvite them, as our registration links do expire after 7 days. Once your student is registered, they can either invite you individually to SCORE, as we saw through the student profile, or you can also ask your school's counselor or a contact at the high school to go ahead and add and invite you as well. Another great question. So do students have to register with the OCPS email address or with the personal email address? So I believe that it would be the school email address that was on file when we initially set up the student SCORE account. So it should be their OCPS email address. So again, if you could encourage your students to maybe ask their counselor to go ahead and reinvite them to SCORE, they'll get an email message with a link to register, and they can register within just a minute. Another question. So this is basically a way for students to see which colleges fit them best. Yes, it is really absolutely that and so much more. But yes, ultimately, we do really want to help students find their best fit school. Again, a lot of that is driven by that personalization, them, following colleges, entering their preferences, completing that profile data, because the more that they input into SCORE, the more of a valuable, search and exploration tool it's really going to be. And it's also going to allow them to be discovered by colleges as well. I would absolutely recommend that juniors engage on SCORE. There is no short of tools and features that they can take advantage of in their junior year. Even if it's just following some schools and taking some virtual tours, but at least starting to really think about, okay, what are they looking for in a post-secondary college? In terms of GPA and test scores, that is typically set on a school by school basis, but the high schools are really responsible for importing that GPA and test score information for students. So another question is the only way for a parent to access SCORE by student invitation. So that is one way. Now, again, your student should really be registered prior to you being invited to the platform, just to hopefully negate some like linking issues. We definitely want to make sure that you are linked with your student and the correct student, and there's no kind of registration issue. So we definitely recommend, having your students in first and foremost register their account if they haven't already, and then they can go ahead and invite you. Or if you have a relationship or rapport with the counselors, they also have the ability to invite you as well. Is the student and parent login different? Yes. So you will have a separate login for the students will have their own login that is exclusive to them. The parent guardian view, as you can see a lot of the same information presented to your students. We really do want students to take ownership of this process. So they will be, the main ones really working in the account, updating their My Colleges list. But we definitely encourage you to also create an account to keep track of the different applications. You can also communicate with the school counselors and receive emails. So a lot of great tools that you can take forward in your own account. Is information about outside scholarships and their deadlines also part of SCORE? Um, yes, so we currently do not have a scholarship search tool built in. I do know that a lot of the schools will use SCORE as a communication hub on the counselor side of things, so they can really easily share out things like lists of scholarships for students that can be housed within the student's My Drive, but there's no current scholarship search tool built in just yet. Is there a fee? So not a fee for students or families whatsoever. So this is, we do have a district-wide contract with OCPS. So nothing that you would need to worry about in terms of cost. And Mariel had a question. So can students apply to colleges through the site? That's a great question. In short, no. So SCORE is not currently an application platform. So students will still apply whichever method they choose, whether that is, Common App, Coalition, maybe some college websites. Regardless of how they apply and send off that application, they're still going to be taking those same actions and scores. So it is really important that after, your student sends in that application, they log into SCORE, they pull up their, SCORE mobile app and update that they've applied, because that's what's going to trigger the notification to let the counselor know and anyone that's involved in sending forward those application materials on behalf of your students. I did see a question come through about we haven't been invited to SCORE by the school yet. Is that because my student is not a senior? That could very, very well be the case. I would encourage you to, reach out to your high school, or maybe see if your student does actually have a SCORE account. I know with, the pandemic last year and a lot going on, when this was really being rolled out, there was just a lot of moving pieces. So it is likely that maybe they did create a SCORE account in the past. They just happened to forget about it. So please ask your student as well as, your high school if you're looking to get on the SCORE network. Oh, and thank you, Meryl. So she did confirm that all high school students have been invited to SCORE, and it can be found on their student launchpad. And just a reminder that those registration invites do expire after 7 days. So that would be if your student isn't able to register via the launchpad, to just reach out to the high school. Another question came through. So is there a checklist of things that they need to do each year? So we do have what we call like a class overview guide, which is a resource that is accessible, to the students as well as the counselors if they want to customize that or share that forward. That does present a really nice view of things that they can do, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year to really help guarantee that they're, as prepared as possible for that post-secondary success. And Wayne had a question. So when were they invited? So I don't have that information offhand. It could very well have been, past 7 days ago. So it's more likely than not that students would need to be, reinvited or access that through the Launchpad. And Mariel did confirm that students are typically invited at the start of the school year. And Mariel, I'm not sure if you had the answer to this question, but do 9th graders get the invite? So were invites sent out across the board to students? Yes, so all high school students. And it's confirmed it does go, that invite would have gone to their OCPS Gmail. And I can also, just send out a reminder to the schools this week to, if needed, if it's finding that a lot of the registrations have expired, very easy for them to just go ahead and, bulk reinvite all students. All right, so I do believe that is all questions. We are past the 50-minute mark, so I do want to be cognizant of everyone's time. I very much appreciate you joining us this evening. I hope that this was informative and you saw that really all SCOIR does have to offer, both your students and you all as families. We really appreciate our partnership with OCPS and really look forward to continuing working with you. And I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you all. Take care.